Oakland, California. Autumn 1967. The Dockside District lives by its own laws. Here, no one asks for documents. No one cares about names. Reputation is not what you say about yourself. It is what people say about you when you leave the room. There's only one currency accepted without questions: what you can do with your hands. Pier 18 smells of sea salt, machine oil, and something long burned away. The concrete underfoot is cold even in autumn. It has absorbed so much ocean wind that it no longer gives back warmth. Bare bulbs without shade sway in the draft, and the shadows on the corrugated metal walls move slowly like pendulums. At the far end of the space, where forklifts operate during the day, different people gather in the evenings. Not for anything specific, just gathering. Sailors from the Coral Sea, who came ashore 4 days ago. Several dock workers. One retired military police officer who never left after service, because there was nowhere to go. Someone brought a crate of cold beer. Someone a transistor radio playing something between jazz and static. Conversations never stop, but they have a center of gravity. As always, his name is Harris. Height 6 feet 4 inches, 1.93 meters. Weight 147 kilograms, most of it not fat. Broad shoulders, a neck like a bull. Arms that look as if they were made from a different material than ordinary human arms. He served in the Navy for 11 years, and during those 11 years he passed through Japan, the Philippines, Hong Kong, Pearl Harbor, and a dozen other ports whose names he has already forgotten. He hasn't forgotten something else. Not once in those 11 years did the man he fought get up from the floor before Harris had counted to 5. Now he is telling a story, or rather, he is demonstrating it. He lifts one of the guys by the collar with one hand just to illustrate something that happened last week in San Diego. The guy weighs about 90 kilograms, his legs hanging in the air, but he is laughing because Harris is laughing, and laughing with Harris is safer than laughing at him. Harris puts him down and opens a beer. Nobody fights Harris twice. Someone says from the corner, "It's not because I'm good." Harris replies evenly, "It's because they're smart." He is not boasting. For him, it is simply a description of reality. He lives in a world where strength is the only coordinate system that makes sense. Everything else is talk. Around 8:45, 3 men enter through the gate. 2 are known here. Pete Malone, a former Marine now working Dock 3, and his friend Carlos, dark eyes, broad shoulders, slow smile. The third is unknown. He is short, about 5 feet 8 inches, 173 centimeters, 63 kilograms. Dark trousers, light shirt, top button undone. A young Chinese man, around 25 or slightly older. He walks calmly, without display, looking around with the curiosity of someone who wants to understand where he has come. Harris notices him briefly, then stops noticing. Pete greets a few people, introduces the stranger shortly. Bruce. He teaches a school nearby. We were passing through. "What school?" someone asks. "Jeet Kune Do." The stranger answers calmly. "What is that? Some kind of kung fu?" "No," he says. "It is not like anything else." A small pause forms. Harris looks over. The small man is standing about 5 meters away, looking directly at him. Not aggressively, just observing. "You know how to fight?" Harris asks. "That depends on what you call fighting." Comes the answer. "Have you fought real people?" "Yes. Big ones." Laughter in the corner. Harris looks at the 63 kilograms man and feels something. Not threat. Something else. Something without a name yet. If you have ever been in a room where 2 people are about to do something irreversible, you know that feeling. It is not in words. It is in the air between them. "Want to try, kid?" Harris says. "No hostility." Bruce Lee replies. "Of course," Harris says. The space opens up naturally. Before continuing, a few words about the man Pete Malone introduced, simply by name. Bruce Lee was born in San Francisco in 1940 in the family of a Hong Kong opera actor. He grew up in Hong Kong, where at 13 he began studying Wing Chun under Master Ip Man. He returned to the United States at 18 with enough money for one plane ticket and one question that mattered more than money. What actually works? He opened his first school in Seattle, then another in Oakland. His students were not hobbyists. Joe Louis, who would become the first world full-contact karate champion, Mike Stone, Chuck Norris, names that speak for themselves in the martial arts world. Harris does not know these names. Even if he did, it would not change anything. Before him stands a 63 kilograms man. Harris is 147 kilograms, an 84 kilograms difference, more than the weight of an average teenager. They separate at arm's length. Harris does what big men do before a fight. Slightly hunches forward, tucks his head, slowly raises his fists. Unhurried, never in a hurry, never needed to be. Bruce Lee stands straight. That is the first thing the room notices. No fighting stance in the usual sense. No wide legs, no tense muscles, no pose saying, "I am ready." He simply stands. Someone chuckles quietly. Harris steps forward. What happens in the next few seconds is later described differently by witnesses, but all agree on one thing. The eye could not track individual movements, only results. Harris steps. Bruce moves, not backward, but sideways. Harris's right fist cuts through empty air. Bruce is already no longer where he was. Harris turns again. Empty space. This is not trickery. It is principle. If a body moves toward a point that no longer exists, it moves into emptiness. The first 30 seconds Harris does not touch Bruce once. Every punch meets absence. Harris begins to get angry. It shows not in words, but in breathing, in the tightening of the neck muscles, in faster strikes. And when a big man speeds up, accuracy goes first. The crowd stops laughing. The crowd is watching. And then something happens no one expected. Harris does not miss. He ceases to pursue and simply stops, standing and waiting, hands in front of him, eyes fixed on Bruce. It is a smart move, unexpectedly smart for a man known here only for strength. Bruce moves. Harris does not react. Bruce makes a feint. Harris does not move. A second of silence. Another. Then Harris strikes, not forward and not to the side, but exactly where Bruce had just moved. It is not technique, it is reading. Primitive, instinctive. Forged through 11 years of fights in bars and on docks from Yokohama to Long Beach. He does not see movement. He senses pattern. The fist, carrying 147 kilograms of mass behind it, lands on Bruce Lee's shoulder. Not the head, not the jaw, just below the collarbone. But the force is enough to break alignment. Bruce does not fall immediately. He takes a step back. His body searches for balance. Then another step. His foot catches a pipe at the base of the wall. He falls. Silence in the room becomes so dense that the sway of the bare bulb is audible. Bruce Lee lies on the floor. Harris raises his hands and turns toward his people. His face is the face of a man who has just proven what he has believed all his life. He looks at them, sees what he wants to see, and smiles. Kung Fu, he says. And in that single word is all his triumph, all his conviction about how the world works. Someone laughs. Someone pats Harris on the shoulder. He does not yet know he has just made the most expensive mistake of his life. Because behind him, Bruce Lee opens his eyes. He is still lying still. His gaze is fixed upward at the corrugated ceiling, at the bare bulb swinging in the draft. His shoulder burns with dull heat. He feels it clearly, without illusion. He fell. That is a fact. But so is this. He just received something that cannot be learned any other way. Not the fall itself, but the information inside it. The timing of the strike, the acceleration curve, the peak of mass transfer, the angle of entry, the moment force begins to decay. He did not need to fall to know the man was strong, but he needed to fall to know how. Now he knows everything. Harris is still facing away, talking, laughing, receiving congratulations. Bruce stands up, not suddenly, not in haste. One knee first. Pause. Then up. His shoulder still hurts. He accepts the information and continues moving. Someone in the room notices him first. Hey, Harris turns. His expression changes. Not fear. Not yet. Surprise. Real surprise. This was not supposed to happen. No one he had ever dropped with that strike had ever stood up without hesitation. Never. Bruce looks at him again. Not asking. Just stating. The crowd is no longer laughing. It is frozen in that strange stillness that comes when people sense something has changed, but do not yet understand what. The second round begins differently. Bruce moves differently. Before, there was something exploratory in his motion. He was testing space, reading reactions, gathering data. Now there is none of that. Each step is precise, stripped of excess, as if something unnecessary has been removed. Harris feels it immediately. Something has changed. He cannot explain what. The small man is different. Same height, same weight, same shirt, but different. Harris attacks again with the same timing. Stop, pause, side strike to where the opponent just moved. But Bruce does not move where he should. Instead, he moves against instinct, against the natural reflex of escape, straight into the strike. The punch cuts air, and in that same fraction of a second, before Harris can register the miss, his wrist is intercepted. Not grabbed, intercepted. A small hand catches the motion and carries it forward, adding to its momentum, redirecting the entire arc of Harris's body into a path he did not choose. 147 kilograms is a lot, and a lot of uncontrolled mass is worse. Harris turns, loses alignment, takes a forced step. Then another. Bruce is already behind him. Someone in the crowd exhales. Not a word, just air. Then silence. Harris turns back. Now he is truly angry. Not competitive anger. Not sport anger. Something deeper. The anger of a man whose model of reality has just been proven incomplete. And that is more painful than any hit. He strikes again. Second time. Third time. Each faster than the last. Each time Bruce does not block. He meets the strike at the moment before full power, slightly redirects the vector, and lets the force pass by. Not strength against strength. Understanding versus force is a principle from the physics of leverage. You don't need to stop motion. You need to redirect it. Harris strikes a fourth time, then a fifth. On the sixth attempt, he does what people do when they run out of a plan. He simply throws everything into the punch. No preparation, no pause, just forward. Bruce steps half a pace to the side. His right hand traces a short arc. The edge of his palm touches the side of Harris's neck. It is not a chopping strike. It is a touch, but placed in exactly the right spot, with exactly the right pressure, at exactly the right moment in the movement cycle. For the nervous system, it is like a switch being turned off. Harris's legs buckle. He does not fall completely. He manages to grab the wall and stays standing. His head is lowered, his breathing heavy. Bruce stands a meter away. His right hand is raised, palm open, not a fist. An open hand suspended in the air at the point where it could have continued its motion. He could strike. Everyone sees it. He lowers his hand. Silence. From the transistor radio in the corner, something distant flows through the air, like sound from another world. Harris slowly lifts his head. Bruce looks at him without triumph, without mockery, without the expression winners usually wear when looking at the defeated. You read my movement, Bruce says in the first round. You stopped and waited. Few people do that. Silence. That was a good move. Harris looks at him. There's no rage in his eyes. Something else instead. Something his vocabulary has no word for. Why did you get up? He says finally. His voice is steady. A real question, not an attempt to save face. Because I needed to see one more thing, Bruce answers. You saw it while you were on the floor? Yes. Pause. What exactly? Harris asks. Bruce thinks for a second. Not because he doesn't know, but because he is searching for precise words. You strike with maximum power at the moment you already expect the result, he says. That makes your strike powerful and predictable. Harris is silent, looking at his own hand. One more thing, Bruce adds. Not as criticism, but observation. You stopped watching me when you raised your hands. He turns and walks toward the exit. Pete Malone catches up with him at the gate. Did you fall on purpose? Bruce stops and looks at Pete. No, but you got up so quickly, as if you needed to. Bruce pauses. What matters is this. He did something I did not predict. That is important. Short silence. It matters that you were hit, and it matters that I felt how he did it. He looks out toward the pier, toward the black water under the dock. If I had not fallen, I would not know what I know now. Pete thinks about that. Most people wouldn't get up. I know, Bruce says quietly. That is exactly why they lose before they even rise. That is what happened that night at the dock. Harris won the first round, truly won it. His strike was accurate. His reading of movement was correct. He did everything right. And precisely at the moment he did everything right, he stopped the fight, not with his body, but with his attention. He turned to his people before the opponent even hit the ground. His mind had already moved to the next chapter of the story. Victory, confirmation, recognition. He began to celebrate a win that had happened, and missed the fight that was still continuing. Bruce Lee lay on the floor and did not stop thinking. That difference between a mind that stops at achievement and a mind that continues working in any position is what separates a fighter from a master. Not technique, not strength, not speed. The quality of attention at the moment when attention seems no longer necessary. To fall is to take the shape of the ground. Water takes the shape of any container. That does not destroy water. It is only a temporary form from which it can flow again. To rise is to become oneself again. In his notebooks, later published after his death, Bruce Lee returned repeatedly to one idea. He described it in different ways, but the meaning stayed the same. A victory declared before the end of the fight is a delayed defeat. He wrote about it not just as combat principle, but as life principle, because life works the same way. A person achieves something and, in that moment, stops moving, raises their hands, turns to the audience, looks for confirmation in their faces, and behind them, the eyes open again. In October of the same year, at a demonstration in Long Beach, Bruce Lee performed a punch from over 2 meters away, sending a volunteer from the audience backward into a chair on wheels. The crowd first fell silent, then exploded. Journalists later asked him, "How is that physically possible? So much power from such distance?" "When you strike," he answered, "don't think about the strike. Think about what comes after it." Harris thought about the strike. He thought about finishing the smaller man. And when it happened, his thinking stopped because the goal was achieved. Finished. Bruce lay on the floor and thought about the next step, about what he now knew, and what that knowledge allowed him to do. The gap between these two states of mind, that is the space where mastery lies. Harris never spoke about that night publicly. Those who knew him later said that when Bruce Lee's name was mentioned, he would go quiet, but it was a different kind of silence, not the silence of someone with nothing to say. The silence of someone who knows something that cannot be put into words. Perhaps that night he understood what few people ever truly understand. The most dangerous thing is not being defeated. The most dangerous thing is believing you have already won. October 1967. Autumn in Oakland colder than expected. Pier 18. Corrugated metal. A swinging light bulb. The smell of salt and cold concrete. The small man rises from the floor at exactly the moment it matters most. Not when the last strike lands. Not when the opponent hits the wall. But when he gets back up. Because that is where the real story begins. Falling can happen to anyone. It is not a choice. The choice is what you do while you are on the ground.